Let's go! It's the LA Football Podcast.
Touchdown Ram! Recovered by the Chargers. Touchdown UCLA!
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be listening. Welcome to the LA Football Podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network, also on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for Los Angeles football. I'm your co-host, Ryan Dyrud, joined as always by two-time USC national champion, NFL stud, Frostee Rucker. My man, what's going on?
Ryan, I'm good, man. What's going on?
Not too much. Can't complain. Another beautiful day out here in Los Angeles. How things are?
I hear you, man. It's all good. Weather's good.
Good. Have a good weekend. Here, what are we? Tuesday. So yeah, we're starting the week off. How was the weekend?
Yeah, everything was good, man. Kids running around, having a good old time, playing together, and just couldn't wait to get back to work.
Always, right? Said no one ever, but yeah, we can say that. We like what we do. So happy to have you all listening. Got a great show for you today. Make sure to subscribe to the LA Football Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit us up. You can email us. We love to read your email questions on the show. We'll get to that. We always do it at the end of the show, so we'll be doing that. But email us, podcast@LAFBnetwork.com. You can find us on the socials at The Organic Frost, where you can find Frostee. Find myself at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. All right, it's going to be a heavy COVID show today. A lot of big news surrounding coronavirus, surrounding the NFL, surrounding the hopeful season. Training camp is a week away. Frosty, I thought it'd be fun to start off. A lot of players, especially yesterday, came out. It was what was the big hashtag they were using? We want to play, essentially.
We want to play.
Yeah, so they were coming out saying what needs to happen in order for them to get out on the field. I'll start with you. I know you were kind of following some of these guys, and I'm sure you have friends still in the league. But some of the guys, what were their reactions, you think, and what were they saying in order to get this thing actually going?
Well, Ryan, across the league, everyone is saying we want to play. You know, we want to watch you guys play. They want to play. But the main thing that they're trying to get at is safety, player safety, and the health and wellness of their families. And that is a very important thing, and the NFL really needs to hit home on this one.
Yeah, you know, it's surprising, and we'll get to a couple player quotes here, but it's surprising that with all the time they've had, I mean, we've known about this since March. We saw the other leagues all shut down. The NFL was in its offseason. They have to obviously cancel their live draft at a really cool virtual experience. But all this time to prep, and here we are a week before camp, and we're just now seeing negotiations between the NFLPA and the NFL. Does that kind of surprise you at all?
Yeah, man, it's surprising to me just because, you know, the NFL has been sitting around waiting, figuring out what to do. MLS soccer started. NBA is starting back up in their bubble. Baseball starting later this week. What does the NFL do? They drag their feet and haven't came up with any concrete details of how they're going to help these players at least get to work and feel comfortable, you know, engaging in contact sport. You know, this is something that it had to be high on the list, and maybe they're scared. Maybe it's the fear of the unknown. If the CDC is going to come out with a new rule just because we are an outside full contact sport that these guys won't be able to buy to, but you know, the clock's ticking and they need to figure it out.
Yeah, you know, and I think the weird thing is it almost like they took the approach, oh, things are just going to get better and work themselves out. We have 6 months till our season starts. We'll be good by August, instead of taking the aggressive approach and trying to be proactive and do things. And the hardest thing with this league, as opposed to other, you have NBA is, you know, no sport is as contact as football. I mean, there's no debate there. But, you know, NBA guys are still bumping up against each other. They're touching. Every sport, there's some contact. Aside from maybe baseball, you can get away with literally probably not touching anyone unless you're sliding into a base. But that being said, NBA has 12 guys. When the game's over, obviously they're doing different things with the bubble, but even if they weren't, 12 guys on the team, couple coaches, go home. That's, you know, 15 to 20 personnel total. NFL, you have a 53-man roster. You have 20-plus coaches. You have so many different bodies that are leaving that facility, going home, going out to eat, doing whatever they're doing, coming back. It's just a huge thing to really kind of digest and really figure out. And that's why they needed this time to put these protocols. And here we are a week out, and they're finally in talks.
Yeah, Ryan, you said the key word there was bubble. The NFL doesn't have one. Yeah. Even though, as I do know, training camp, you're always under heavy confinement, security everywhere. But like you said, the number totals of how many people that are going to be around. The NFL, obviously, it has all the players, it has all the coaches and personnel, but you got a lot of other things that come into play here. Maybe an NBA, baseball, they use the same therapist. There's not too many guys. They can get in line. With the NFL, you got 20, 30 new therapists trying to get their hands on these players and make sure they're able to perform the next day at practice. But now what do? Do you put these people in bubble also? Or do you tell these guys you got to sit around and wait for one therapist to work on every single person? There's only so much time in the day outside of meetings and actual practice. How do they do it?
Yeah, or our team's going to start paying for in-home therapists for every player that just stays like a nanny almost, stays at home and starts doing the thing. Is that obviously players aren't going to want to pay for that.
It has to be a full effort by the NFL to come up with protocols to make sure these guys are able to play, and B, not stressing the actual act of football. And getting these therapists, getting these perimeters set up is very huge in order to get these guys back on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We obviously have opinion on this, but let's get to some of the players because they're the ones that are actually playing the game. So some star guys in LA have come out and said things. There's guys across the league, J.J. Watt, Russell Wilson, but obviously let's focus on some of the LA guys. So Frostee, I'll let you start reading a quote from one of the greats out here and kind of what he was thinking. We'll kind of break it down and then move on.
If you guys haven't followed Aaron Donald, it's at Aaron Donald 97. But if you look him up and search, it's 80_99. The best defensive tackle in the league is very outspoken, and he says, it's a shame that the NFL doesn't care about doing their part to keep players healthy and safe. They need to make sure football can come back the right way. We have to look out for ourselves as well as our families. # we want to play. And, he's right. There's more to this than just you guys shut up and play football. Mm-hmm. We need guys like him speaking out against this, that some people don't have a voice. Some people are younger or lower on the totem pole, and they don't have a say. Guys like this need to speak up and get the NFL to respond quickly and do it the correct way. What is the correct way? I don't know. But the protocols need to be set. It's amazing that this league that is so great doesn't have this all figured out.
Yeah, no, it's shocking. And he's one of the biggest voices, especially in LA, to come out and say something. A lot of guys we see mostly yesterday using this hashtag and voicing their opinions. I mentioned earlier, guys like Russ Wilson, J.J. Watt, all these guys coming out and, have another really big guy here in LA, Chris Harris Jr., played for the Broncos for many years. Now he's with the Chargers. Father of, I believe, 4 daughters. So he's got a lot of.
You just had to say Broncos, didn't you?
I had to throw it in there.
Okay, keep going.
Hey,
I just wanted to point that.
I had him on the show. He's been on the LA Football Podcast, so we brought it up. So it'll be fun to watch. That's another story we'll get to. Him and Keenan Allen's relationship during training camp will be fun. But obviously has a lot on the line besides just football. He's a family guy. He's got 4 daughters at home. So he came out and said guidelines should have been in place in the NFL. Players are not asking for too much, just proper safety. # we want to play, # strap. So they're all kind of in the same boat that we want to play, just our safety is important, and we're not just worrying about our safety on the field, but also the safety of our family members and people that we live with, because we're not living in a bubble. You're not going to have 1,100 NFL players in a bubble for 6 months.
No, you're right. And he's right. It's the hardest thing to do. Obviously, training camp is a really confined area. Security, no one's going to get around. They'll pretty much lock down their dorm or hotel, whichever they see fit. But it's family coming to visit. These guys are going to get lonely. It's when training camp's over. What do you do then? When you go back into the real world and you're sleeping in your own bed and traveling and going to the grocery store and things like that. The NFL, outside of the players, have to be very cautious about this. What happens if a guy tests positive? And then what happens when it's the second guy? What happens if it spreads? They say guys are going to have to go on IR, but how many at a time can you do that?
Oh, yeah. You for sure probably have to expand roster sizes, which then even is more people you're talking about. If you go from, say, a 53 game day roster or 46 on game days with a couple inactives. But if you increase that to, what is it at training camp? 90 guys, 90 players?
Yeah, just about.
What if you do that for the whole season, or you allow a 30-person like taxi squad, if you will? That just a lot of crazy complications, especially if you're putting guys on 3-week IR. even if they're not really sick, but they tested positive.
And, you're absolutely correct. And it comes back to being a collective bargain agreement, right? This is something that was probably at the table. They're always trying to add guys. I was in the league for 13 seasons, and I know every year we wish we had more bodies in training camp and you didn't reduce them at the last game. But now, what about the season?
Yeah.
Is there any wiggle room here? Is there good faith between the union and the NFL? I don't think so, but what happens? You can't wipe out a whole offense if one person gets it and it spreads down the whole O-line and the backups. What do you do?
Oh, totally. And, last point I'll make on that is we see how fast things spread and within contact, but think about your own positional groups. Obviously, every team is in close quarters, but D-line, offensive line, quarterback room, they're in living quarters essentially throughout the whole season and meetings and all stuff like that. All of a sudden, you have your 3 quarterbacks in the roster, all get it. You're putting them all in the IR for 3 weeks and going getting someone that hasn't played in 6 months off.
Very interesting way to look at it, man. But at a player perspective, this is also new. You don't have a whole bunch of family and friends coming in town to watch the games and stuff. It's going to be completely on TV. So maybe they can isolate themselves and do their part, but the workplace environment has to be safe.
Yeah. So I do want to kind of take the devil's advocate approach also and look at the other side, because a lot of these guys we're hearing from, we quoted Aaron Donald, quoted Chris Harris Jr., Trey Turner came out and said something, your boy Johnny Hecker come out and said something, all the big names.
Heck dog.
That's right, all the big names. But what about the guys that are clawing and fighting for spots, that are just trying to get there? I found a quote from a young player, still a collegiate player, named Jonathan Adams, and he said, the only people that saying they don't feel safe playing is the people with these millions of dollars in their bank account. # we want to play. My mom is still getting up at 5:30 a.m. to go to work. So, Frostee, what do you think of those guys that they do have kind of a point? They're not able to just sit back and let their money matriculate in the bank. Like, they're fighting for not only a paycheck, but also for their career, for their future, for their hopeful longevity in this great game.
He's not wrong, but he has to make it to the Professional Football League to voice that opinion about that. That's something the NCAA has to, come up with, and some protocols. And we're not even going to dive into that right now. We're going to stick to professional. But he has a point. There has to be the opposite side of it, and guys are trying to get to that point. And again, when there's things like this that come up, there's social issues, and there's all these things. There's the balance. Some people can be more outspoken because they do have money and they have protection that way, that if their dollar or their job is stripped, they're comfortable. And there's some guys that don't say anything when they do want to say things because they're not financially stable. And that's a great point. When you're in college, I would say 90% of the guys probably come from single homes. And, if they live with their moms are probably working like that. My mom did.
Yeah.
And that's one way to look at it. Would I voice that? Who knows? This day and age, I think people are a lot more outspoken, just like Adam said. But again, he has to get to the big leagues to really voice that opinion, but he's not wrong.
Yeah. It's never going to be a perfect scenario. It's a tough situation all around. But finally, the two sides, NFLPA and the NFL, did talk, and that we do have some clarity, at least a little bit of the protocols. I'm going to try to get into it, Frostee. It's confusing.
What were they talking about? Let's give them something to talk about. You know that song?
Of course, that song. It's a great song.
Good one.
Yeah.
It is.
Give them something to talk about. You probably have a better voice than me, but okay.
Debatable.
So some of the testing protocols, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that'll come out this week about when certain things happen. We talked about the IR, but just testing. So let me try to go through this, and you can try to chew on it if you can. I'll say it slowly because it's a lot. So when players first arrive at camp, rookies are going to be arriving first, and you have veterans. The day they arrive, they get tested. They go home. That's essentially a waste of day, but they get home, they go home. For 2 days, then everything's done virtually. So virtual meetings, just kind of how they've been doing the whole off season. After those 2 days are up, so on day 4 now of training camp, go back to the facility, get tested again. If they've gotten 2 negative tests, then they are essentially cleared to begin actual training camp. So they'll get, their physical done, get, fitted for pads, jerseys, all that good stuff. They can start working out.
Right.
2 negatives. From that point forward, so from that second negative, for every day for 2 weeks, they'll be tested every single day. If after those 2 weeks, less than 5% of the entire NFL has tested positive, so less than 5 tested positive, then they'll go to every other day testing. If more than 5%, again, who knows how big that, if things can change if it's 50%, but if it's, 6-7%, they'll remain at a 6 every day testing stage. So as a former player, does that give you some comfort knowing all that test? Does it still leave you with, well, there's still ways I can contract it without, going around the testing, or how do you at least feel hearing that at least beginning stage of these conversations?
I believe, Ryan, honestly, that these guys should be tested every day. I don't think you should ever lax on COVID, knowing that it's out there and it can creep up any type of way. I think you test them every single day. It's the only way to do it, in my opinion. But again, if you get that comfort, like someone will, they don't want to get that
swab or whatever.
They don't want to get the swab in their nose that touches their brain, because I've done it a few times. It's very unpleasant, but it's a short period of time. And if that is on the opposite side of you being able to make millions of dollars, I think you take the test every day. And it's not a lack of funds to actually pay for tests or whatnot. The NFL has plenty of money when it comes to that. You test them every single day. That assures their family that they're doing the right thing. And in the state of California, which we're talking about, they have rapid tests that give you the results in less than an hour to less than an hour. So, I mean, there's different ways they can do it. And sucks for other states that aren't caught up that way. But in California, you got rapid tests, and I think you rapid them every single day if they're around anyone other than their teammates.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was actually going to ask you that because I had no idea how quickly the actual test results come back. I'm curious, and I don't have an answer to this. This is more just conversation-wise for you. Do you think, because in order to do these tests every day, 50 players, are they going to have like time slots? Like, okay, we don't want, again, I kind of mentioned like all these positions. If you have the entire position group wiped out or going on IR, what are you going to do? So do you stagger like, hey, we want our third string guys from these position groups coming, or are they going to have like we see at hospitals, everyone's in their car. So they just drive to the facility, wait in your car. Someone's going to come out, give you the test. And then when a result comes back in 30 minutes, then cool, you're good to go. What do you think that'll look like? Just out of curiosity. I mean, I have no idea.
Well, one of the things that the NFL does when you're in training camp and they're doing drug testing or performance enhancing testing, they knock on your door, then you got to go to a room and you give your urine. Mm-hmm. Do the same thing. Knock on the door early in the morning, swab them, and then leave. They have you can time it out. It could be 6:30 in the morning. Breakfast starts at 8. You got enough time to get the test back, carry on with the day. So I just think you do it that way. You knock on the door, swab it out, get to it.
Yeah, makes sense. So the other thing that kind of came out with these talks is the NFL offered the NFLPA, so it's not official, but it probably will be, no preseason games. As a player, a veteran, a guy that saw some young guys battling for spots, how big of a deal is this? I know a lot of the bigger name guys have been outspoken about, yeah, we don't want preseason. But for the younger guys, for the guys battling, how much of an impact is that going to have having no live games?
For a guy like me, I hated preseason games, but they did have a lot of value. You know, when you're treading on the bottom half of that roster and you're trying to make a spot, those live reps, not only in practice, but those games mean so much because it's a different speed from college to pro, practicing. Obviously, you can have really good practicing the way they're scheduling their practices and everything's going to be a little bit delayed. Are you going to be really in fine-tuned shape and confident to go out there and do your job under the lights of the NFL? Because it's a very big stage and you don't want to look good just in shorts and T-shirts and get to a Sunday, make the team, and you're not prepared. So I think those live reps are very valuable and they should at least get 2 of them. Again, one of the things that I noticed going through playing in the NFL for so long, the teams already pretty much have their rosters built, and you're just an addition. The rookies, the free agents, and guys they really haven't been around, they're looking to see, does this guy make my team better? Let's see if he gets fatigue in the third quarter when he has no substitute, in the fourth quarter with no substitute. Because chances are in the NFL, if you play offensive line, you're not getting subbed out, right? Yeah. If you're playing cornerback, if you're on the field, if you're playing corner, you're not coming out of the game unless it's a nickel package, and that's just going to be a play. If not, you're coming right back in the game. So those top tier guys, yeah, they don't want to play. I get that. But it's another chance for them to get their self going too, because they didn't get mini camp and OTAs. And now we see how training camp's going to be structured. Those live bullets are going to count for something.
Yeah. Do you think the risk is worth the reward? Like, is it worth having those 2 preseason games? Or do you think for what stage we're in the world right now, is it better just to get them out of here? No preseason game. Just move forward.
I believe giving guys a fair chance, and those live bullets give them the fair chance.
Yeah, no, I agree, because you see a lot, and that brings us kind of to the next thing I want to talk about, which is Hard Knocks, which is featuring both of our LA teams, which is awesome. Like, how fun for us that we get
that's sweet, right?
both of our teams featured on this amazing program. I mean, first of all, before I even get to it, I'm curious. I know we mentioned a few episodes ago, but you haven't been on Hard Knocks, but you've been on All or Nothing, right?
No, I've been on Hard Knocks too when I played with Cincinnati Bengals. I was on Hard Knocks then. It's a great experience. A lot of people floating around, a lot of people just there. But, it's great exposure, and it gives you something to look forward to during training camp to see if your coaches are talking crap on you or not, because they always air it during training camp. So you're always like, let me record this and see what they said in the team meeting rooms. And, it's just something to talk about. It's very exciting for LA. It's a big time deal for the fans.
Were you guys ever able to see some of the like unedited footage, or did you just see what was aired on HBO like all the rest of us? Or were you ever
only what's aired? They never show you they never show you the stuff that they're going to cut out. It's too good. It's too much stuff.
Yeah.
The film's rolling around the clock. I mean, they got GoPros in each team meeting room, so you're walking around. They're always running, so you never know what they're going to get. So you always got to be on your best behavior.
Right. But there's for sure some gems in there, some uncut gems that were probably they would be bad if they leaked out, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure the ownership gets to see those uncut gems.
Oh, and I'm sure the ownership has to approve the final product. Like, yep, we can air this or no, we're not allowing that. So, but that brings us to, so one of the big things about Hard Knocks is showing these preseason games. I mean, obviously it's about the whole training camp experience, but then they film at the preseason games. They kind of feature 4 or 5 kind of unsung heroes that the fans kind of fall in love with that are usually like bubble guys anyway. And then you get to see their reps in live action. So now we don't have that. We don't have joint practices. It's just going to literally be Hard Knocks filming practices, filming routes, filming different drills and stuff like that. Do you think there's going to be any love loss with fans? Or do you think this is just a new opportunity to find a way to create good content and feature these great?
I think there's just going to be new content. I think that it's going to be way more drama filled because they're going to be more in people's faces and airing more of people in the cold tubs and, the getting worked on and, in the meeting rooms and being more detailed without exposing what the plays they're going to be running. But you're going to get more one-on-ones with guys or group settings with things like that. So I'm sure they'll do a fantastic job. But again, the fans fell in love with Danny Woodhead, right? Yeah. They fell in love with these guys and followed them. And once they got on the team and, had some success and people, felt like they knew him just because of Hard Knocks. It's a great tool for exposure for the league and for guys. So I think it'll be a little drop off just because they want to see those live bullets, like I keep saying. But at the same time, I'm sure they'll do a great job of finding out what else they can get out of it now.
Yeah, I think we'll just get a lot more of the storytelling aspect. And obviously football is still the center in the practices, but I think we'll have a lot more of these fun kind of behind the scenes.
Right.
That'll be interesting. Do you think they'll allow camera crews in like people's homes?
Well, yeah, they've done it before in your car and stuff. It's just going to continue to get more intimate. And that's what people really want to do anyway. They want to fall in love with their players. They want to know why they're buying this guy's jersey, what's their background. And I think it's a good chance for them to dive into people's backgrounds because if not, they probably already done it and send camera crews to certain guys' houses and prep them for training camp, and getting footage of them working out and whatnot. So it's just going to be a more in-depth, intimate setting, I feel like.
I agree. I'm just curious with COVID, if say you're your girlfriend or someone's wife and kids and you're a player and you're like, hey, this camera crew is going to come over because they're filming Hard Knocks. They're going to come and hang out at the pad for a little bit, kind of film our interaction. Maybe your girlfriend or wife or whoever's like, I don't want them coming here. Like they've been at the team facility all day. They've been around all the players. Like, yeah, you got tested. You're good. But I don't know about, do you think that'll ever be an issue or you think
I'm sure it is.
Go along with it?
But again, you got rapid tests in the state of California. They got to have rapid tests and show their little certificate as they come in. And I think guys would be more open to it if the guys knew whoever was approaching them, coming in around their inner circle, were already tested and fully negative.
You're gonna see moms and wives with a bunch of thermometers at their front door waiting for people to come in.
And I don't blame them.
Right? Yeah. I mean, when it comes to your kids and everything, things get a little different. So, I've been at these training camps before as a media member. Being just you're now going into your second year of the league, I'm sure. Have you attended any training camp as a fan yet? Like last year, did you do anything or no?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So obviously this year our goal would be to be at them, but now there's this huge change in like the media landscape and who they're going to allow. And if they're not allowing any fans, they're sure as hell going to be very restrictive on what media can come in. What do you think this means for media coverage of these teams? Is it going to be, because let me put it this way. There's always, say there's 10 different media people. So you get these different narratives and stories that come out of camp. Okay, one outlet is pushing this one thing, another's pushing another thing. And then you have the team media that is always pushing a positive focus on whatever happened. Now, is that going to change? And we're just, all these training camps are going to be, every team's looking like Super Bowl favorites because you only have the team media pushing things?
Right. And it's going to put an onus on us to do our jobs a lot harder and get these true interviews with these guys when we don't have access to be right in front of them. Again, everything's going to be a little watered down coming from the actual beat writers that are with the teams. But at the same time, they know that they got to give the fans what they want also, because if they're completely vanilla with this, guys aren't going to like that. People aren't going to want to just follow one person like, that's all you got for me? Who got in a fight? Who did this? Now it's going to be like complete, hush. Don't tell them this. Don't tell them that, because they do work for the team, right? So that's one thing. When you had other access and more media around, they couldn't hide anything. It's out there in front of them. So it's going to put onus on us, like I said, to get these interviews, get in people's DMs, and call some agents and see what we can muster up for our fans. But this is just what it is. It's an adverse time, and we just got to do a little bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. And we, for those listening, we are in the works of getting some awesome players on, which is gonna be a lot of fun. Just talking about, we can say our opinion, what we think it's going to be like, but they'll be in it firsthand, so they can talk about what the testing's like and all that. And I alluded to it earlier. I'm excited to see Chris Harris Jr. and Keenan Allen. I mean, do you know their backstory really?
No, not really, but I know they've been playing versus each other for obviously a lot of years, and they have battled their tails off. So being on the same team and, teaming up together. But again, those live reps in practice are going to be intense. You do one-on-ones every single day.
Oh, yeah. It's great. I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, Rams and Chargers actually had a joint practice, and it was Keenan Allen and I want to say John Johnson. It was something. They ended up like throwing blows. Like Keenan Allen.
I've seen it.
Took him out. The benches cleared, throwing blows, and because of all the media, you had like 8 different video cameras all filming this, where you probably won't have that nowadays.
No, never again. But again, that goes back to them playing versus each other in the season, and it gets a little chippy. It's a little hot out there. Guys are talking this, that, and the other. Cover me next route. Oh, you didn't put that's holding. That's PI. They didn't call it, but you know it. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on that a player perspective that people don't know. And then all of a sudden a fight breaks out and they're like, I thought practice was just going just fine. But, you're away from your family. It gets a little bit edgy out there. And, again, hopefully right now guys are working together for the common goal to get to the Super Bowl, just because they haven't had a lot of time to not be around each other. They're just going to be so excited to be teammates and be around the guys and play football that hopefully that little chippiness doesn't go away.
No, I think so. And we'll have, luckily here in LA, we'll have Hard Knocks to at least give us a little more access than some of the other teams will have. And just so for the Chris Harris, Keenan Allen, so last year, Chris Harris was asked about, the matchup, and he was like, well, I don't see the big deal. I always shut him down, blah, blah. And then Keenan Allen responded like he couldn't even hold my jock strap. And so it's just great back and forth. I actually asked Chris when he was on, I was like, so you're going to bring a jock strap first day of camp just as a joke? And he was like, I got to do that. So I want to follow up with him and see if he actually does bring him a jock strap. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's rivals and, they become brothers. So I'm sure as anything goes, they'll patch up real quick. And they'll know they're on the same team, and iron's going to sharpen iron. So they'll go at it, but, they'll learn something from each other. How'd you do this on your route? You know, your hand placement on here, that was pretty good. And, you know, they'll go back and forth and make each other better. And I think for that, the Chargers will be a lot better.
I agree. I think it was a huge acquisition for them. So I want to talk a little bit about where these teams will actually be, because their training camp situations are different than in years past because of this. But real quick before we get into that, got to talk about the sponsor of the show, Simply Safe. What's the number one sign of a bad home security system? A home security system that's so complicated you never use it. That's exactly the type of system Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against. Simply Safe was designed to be easy to use while protecting your whole home 24/7. Order online, open the box, place the sensors, plug it in, and your home is protected around the clock. It's that simple. Head to simplysafe.com/team and get free shipping plus a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafe.com/team. It feels good to fear less. All right, Frosty. So Rams typically always in kind of down in your neck of the woods, down in Orange County down there, played at UC Irvine for their camp. You mentioned guys, you know, going away, staying on their own, you know, being in dorms, whatnot. They always stayed at UC Irvine in the dorms. There was a scene from All or Nothing, I think, when they filmed with the Rams when they first came to LA, and I think it was Kenny Britt was like driving a golf cart around campus and like flipped it over or something.
Oh, Lord.
This year a little different though. They'll be up in their training facility up in Thousand Oaks. So I'll let you kind of talk about, you know, what that difference will look like. They're not going away. They're back. I mean, not that they were that far, but they're not all escaping somewhere.
Well, you know, they didn't do OTs in mini camp, so for the new guys, it's going to be a different environment for them, just like the training camp would be. But we'd hope it wouldn't get mundane and be, you know, an environment where some of the guys have been there for years are just like, this is just Groundhog's Day, right? And it's not a new environment. But again, you throw that being in a new spot for some of these guys and no fans. You know, training camp is always a great time to engage in your community and the people that support you and buy the tickets to the game and, you know, essentially pay your salary. So, you know, you're taking out that X factor, and it's just going to be a real focused, detailed, crisp practice. I feel like I think guys are so eager to get back. It's not going to matter their environment at this point. They just want to play football. Yeah. And being at the home base, that means they don't have to travel across campuses and do all this stuff. They'll have their hot tubs, cold tubs, steam rooms, their trainers. Everything will be right in place, so it won't be as confusing as going to another environment where, you know, you got to go from a dorm, take a golf cart or a scooter, whatever you got to do to get to A to B. It'll all be in the same complex. So I think it'll be better for them.
Yeah, and you can attest this being a veteran player. Once you get into the league a few years, the last thing you want to do is go away from your family and stay in a crappy college dorm and, you know, have dorm food and be like that. So they're probably like stoked, like, cool, we can just be at home and do it from there.
So they'll probably still be staying in the hotel, though. I'm pretty sure that's the only way they're going to be able to keep a grasp on this COVID outbreak. Guys tend to bring their pillows and, you know, their PlayStations and all their extra curricular things that they're going to bring the dorms anyway. So it's going to be the same feel for that. They're still going to be locked in training camp wise. They're still going to be missing their family and not be able to have access to them. And that's even more. Usually you can see your family after practice, morning practice before you're stretching. They're there. You see your kids. But now there's none of that. So again, FaceTime is going to be huge. Zoom's going to be great. Zoom's going to be used as a huge tool in this. It's unorthodox, but these guys are going to have to adapt if they want to play this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything in life, learn and adapt. But I don't know how USC dorms were, but I know at Long Beach State where I went, I would much rather be in like an NBC Suites or a Holiday Inn than in my Long Beach State dorm. So it's still an upgrade to me going from a dorm's a dorm. A dorm's a dorm. As long as you don't have to physically be right next to someone, like two twin beds, and you get your own little space, that works. Well, I remember too, I don't know if you remember this, that same thing, All or Nothing Rams camp, or I think it was actually Hard Knocks, but the UC dorms at the time, there was no air conditioning. So that was a big thing. They're like shipping these fans in. There was this big like episode about them getting all these fans because there was no air in the dorms. So, hey, if you're in a nice air central room in LA, up in Thousand Oaks, kind of near the beach, still an upgrade over the dorm life.
Yeah, I mean, you can adapt, but yeah, you got to find the silver lining in all, right?
Absolutely. So, so the Chargers will be at their facility, Hogue facility, which is down in Orange County, down in Costa Mesa. They actually did their training camp at Jack Hammett Sports Park, which really wasn't much farther, down by Orange Coast College. I want to say it was like 5 miles, but they'll be at the facility, not at the park.
Yeah.
So not a huge difference for them.
No, it's a great spot. The weather will be a lot better in Orange County than LA, a lot more cooler. Thousand Oaks it's gonna be a difference with the heat, because LA is a little bit hotter up there because you're more inland and not coastal.
Yeah, it does I mean, I can attest. I live in Pasadena, so it definitely we're about 10 to 15 degrees hotter up here always than Orange County, or depending where in Orange County, but for sure when you're further south in Orange County, it's a lot cooler. Well, yeah, I mean, so I before we move on to some email questions, Frosty, good stuff so far. Moving right along, I don't know if you saw it. I actually got a tweet while we're talking this out, just breaking that so far 95 players have tested positive for COVID as of today.
Yikes.
I don't know if that's positive. They're positive right now, or they've tested positive over the course of this offseason. That didn't come out yet, but does that number seem high to you, or is that with how many players there are? It's okay. I thought it might actually be higher than that.
Yeah, it's just about what comes with it. Are these people going to be sick, or are you putting them on IR right now? So they just got to wait to practice. Yeah. What's the shot of them making the team if there's no reps? And again, that's the scary thing about this COVID-19 thing, is that we don't know what we don't know about it. And if that's true, that guys have tested this close to training camp, how do you fault them? You want them to stay away and stop training with people, but that's the only way you can get competitive, and that's the only way you're going to get good reps and be able to compete in your drills and get ready for a hauling season. So this is, again, it's going to be a tough way to play football this year, but these guys got to do it. This is the difference between being pros and bros.
Yeah, that's right. So they'll get it done, and I just hope we make it through. I'm confident. I'm always a glass half full guy, so I think they'll make it happen somehow, some way. Again, just wish they would have kind of discussed a lot of these protocols in the prior months and not waited till now. But hey, we're almost there, man. Next week, training camp starts. I'm excited.
I'm very excited. I mean, think about how these players have been. Their whole livelihood's been on hold while we can sit back and eat potato chips and talk smack and talk about our favorite soda pops. These guys have been trying to train, and with gyms closing down and not being able to go to the facility, it's been tough. And it weighs on families and stresses and whatnot. So I know these guys are just itching to get back to playing football.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine. It's been a stretch trying to come up with content, but I can't imagine actually being the one that's out there on the field, wanting to get out there with my guys again. So, well, Frost, let's get to some email questions. Got some good ones here from some of our listeners. So make sure to email us at podcast@lafbnetwork.com. You can DM us, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB, or The Organic Frost, and we read them out every episode at the end. Usually you can do it football related, can keep it just fun. So Frosty, one of the first ones that came in, you last week chose Del Taco over Taco Bell.
That was an easy decision.
I have someone saying you got to defend yourself. Taco Bell's got the Crunch Wrap. They've got the Double Decker. They have some of these great, innovative style entrees, if you will, and you still want to talk. So he basically called you out as saying to defend yourself.
Look, Taco Bell is a great late night food. Del Taco's all day. Taco Bell does have the cinnamon twist. I'm going to give you that.
Okay.
Del Taco has the topper that we talked about it last time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like secret menu. You didn't really know, right?
I didn't know.
I'm still going to stay with Del Taco just because of the simple fact that they have the chili cheese fries. And the chili cheese fries is something that Taco Bell doesn't offer. And I think they have some French fries that are seasoned with some cheese, but they're not the chili cheese fries. So I'm stuck. I'm a Del Taco guy. Hopefully this can get us some free Del Taco, right? You'll eat it, right?
Oh, yeah, I will.
Del beef burritos and all that. But again, this isn't shade versus Taco Bell. I'm just answering your question.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I'm not with you just because you're my co-host. I'm Del Taco through and through. I think it's a dual kitchen. That alone. You got burgers and Mexican food. Done deal. Give me
Done
options.
deal.
Give me
Done deal. And the tacos are a little bigger. I don't mean to go there, but the tacos from Del Taco, the beef, I mean, it's different.
Yeah. No, and they have this chicken soft taco, which is fantastic, and it's only $1. And the Taco Bell actual taco now, it's almost like $1.99 now. They raised the prices a little bit.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Del Taco.
Getting out of hand. Yeah, Del Taco. All right, next question. I mean, I like the beach. First of all, do you like the beach? Second of all, which beaches do you prefer, the Orange County beaches or the LA beaches?
Ooh, I like the beach. I'm gonna go Orange County because I'm from Orange County and I haven't really dabbled too much into LA beaches. Even though I know there's some nice ones out there. There's Venice, if we're gonna consider that
You want to
one.
say that's
You
nice?
know,
Yeah.
it's a circus, but we're gonna say we're gonna go Venice Beach, and there's Malibu and all up the coast. Um, but there's nothing like Newport Beach, man. I'm an Orange County guy through and through, and there's Newport Beach that I love. There's uh, Emerald Bay and Laguna Beach that it's a private beach, and I know a lot of people that live in that community, and you just can't beat it. So again, I'm gonna stick with what I know,
Yeah.
and that's Orange County beaches are better.
So two follow-ups on that. What, if any, LA beaches have you been to, or have you been to any?
Redondo, Manhattan, and Malibu,
Okay, so you've been to some
and
cool.
Venice.
Okay, yeah.
You
So
know, the Venice is just there for
Venice is a
it's
tourist.
sightseeing.
Exactly. You're just
It's
people.
complete sightseeing.
Yeah, you're just people watching. So then my second one would be Orange County Beach. Is your favorite Newport? Is it Emerald Bay? What's your favorite OC beach?
I'm going to say my favorite beach is Emerald Bay, just because I don't like crowded, just because I don't like big crowds, and I know generally the people that are going to be around me, there's families, and it's not a whole lot of chaos. But I mean, Newport has all the extras to it. They got Blue Beat over there, which is a solid bar. They got Sharkies. They got a lot going on over there. So I'm not going to just completely say Newport sucks, but I'm going to say if it was me and I'm packing my own cooler, I'm going to Emerald Bay and Laguna Beach.
There you go. If you're doing the staying by the sand and the water all day, you're going there. If you need to go up to the boardwalk or the pier, have some food, have a drink, maybe do Newport. When I went to Long Beach State, we were right on the border, LA County, Orange County. So it was kind of nice. We could go literally up to Hermosa, Redondo, and the same distance down to Huntington. But we actually had, I don't know if you've heard of it, but Sunset Beach is right after Long Beach. And then after Sunset, before you get to Huntington, there's a little private beach called Surfside, a little community called Surfside there. So we had some buddies in college that somehow were able to get a little beach pad there. 3 of them lived in like a little 2-bedroom beach shanty, but it was literally on the sand, and it was a private. You could only get in gated. So you'd go there. We could bring like kegs and stuff on the beach because there was no lifeguards, no nothing. So it was fantastic being a college kid going to this private beach in
I wonder
Texas.
if they have Airbnbs there.
I'm sure they do.
That'd be awesome.
This was
She said
before.
shanty. The only time I've ever heard that word is on Happy Gilmore, and that was so funny when I figured out what a shanty was.
Yeah, in reality, it was nowhere near a shanty, but when you consider the other houses around Surfside, it looked much smaller and less
More shanty.
More shanty. Yeah. So
Got it.
cool.
Ryan, this question's for you, bud.
Okay.
We know you're a Denver Bronco fan. In quotations, stop telling us.
Whatever.
Yeah, I wrote that in. Anyways, would you influence your daughter to be a Bronco fan or let her pick and choose what NFL team she follows?
Oh, okay. That's actually a good question because I remember growing up in Denver, and I had a bunch of friends that had like distant relatives. Like this is obviously a little different because I'm her dad, but like, a great grandfather or an uncle from New York or something. And they were like diehard Bears fans. I'm like, you didn't even like grow up in Chicago. Like, how are you a Bears fan? You're in Denver, be a Broncos fan. So that's good because I'm sure my daughter will have the same thing. Her friends being like, well, you're born in LA, you've lived in LA your whole life. Your dad freaking covers the LA teams. Why are you a Bronco fan? So to answer your question, I will definitely throw some influence. Growing up, she will definitely get little jerseys. She will get Broncos paraphernalia. She will definitely get that. But when it comes down to it, I will absolutely allow her to choose which team she desires. I hope, fingers crossed, it's a Broncos. But as long as it's not the Raiders or Patriots, I'll be okay with it.
Got it. Here's a question for me. Have she received anything from an NFL team yet? Have you gotten her a jersey or a hat or anything? If so, what team was first?
So my brother-in-law got her a Rams onesie. So she does have some LA gear.
There you go.
And then she has 2 Bronco cheerleader outfits, 1 Bronco jersey, 3 Bronco beanies. She's got a lot of Bronco gear already. So she's pretty covered there. But she does have 1 Rams onesie that she was almost big enough into. She was born so small, so all her outfits are she's not quite grown into them yet, but soon. And then I got her a little handmade thing that just says like on Sundays I watch football with Daddy. That's good enough. It doesn't have to.
That's awesome.
Team affiliate.
Well, Uncle Frost is going to send her something too.
There you go. She needs some USC gear. So
Okay. Well,
We'll influence her both on that.
Gotcha.
So, you said last one. I do have one more for you though, and we'll end it with a football question. Got to ride off into the sunset with some LA football. So, question is: out of the two LA coaches, Coach Anthony Lynn for the Chargers, Coach Sean McVay for the Rams, which one do you think runs a tougher camp, a tighter ship, if you will?
Well, I would say it's going to have to be Coach Lynn, just because they have to have a good season, and he's kind of on the hot seat. Coach McVay's already gotten his team to the Super Bowl, and they're sort of not really rebuilding. They're reloading to figure out how to get back there. And the Chargers need to win some playoff games and, make a splash. So I'm going to say Coach Lynn's training camp's probably going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you, especially because it is his first year where they're fully implementing his system. So it's kind of like do or die, whether his stuff works. Obviously, he's on a 1-year deal. McVay's, they had a down year, but still a winning season. Didn't make the playoffs, but it's still 9-7. And I think he's set in LA for a long, long time, so he can be a little more lax. And he's been lax. That's been the big thing is, none of his starters played in preseason games last year. So that's kind of his MO is more just come out and work, but, we'll have fun too. And I think Lynn will need to corral the guys a little more, especially now.
Right. Well, no one's playing the preseason games this year, so yes, this is going to be interesting.
McVay got his way. So it's funny about McVay. Last thing I'll say is at camp, he's literally, and I don't know how long this will last. He's still a pretty young guy, still in his early 30s. He's literally out there running on every drill. Like there was one drill I remember specifically. It was it wasn't a 7-on-7 drill. It was basically running against no defense, Goff and the receivers, but he was playing like the high safety. And so he was literally every route that was being ran, he was like breaking down to make them like cut at the right spot. I'm like, this guy is conditioned better than some of these players out there sprinting around.
Yeah, I don't think there's many NFL head coaches that are going to be doing that.
I know.
And he was a hell of a football player too. If you look about his history, I think he was like the high school player of the year in Georgia, and I think it was over Megatron. I think I read that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, where he played. He had some play where he like spun over him, and then obviously he played at University of Miami of Ohio. So, good stuff. Well, Frosty, anything you want to add before we sign off here?
Yeah, I do. Actually, to our LA fans and all our fans out there, stay safe. It's still troubling times and a lot of uncertainty, but I know one thing you can control is your attitude and love thy neighbor. So be a good sport and help out when it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all in this together. So let's get through it. Let's make sure this football season happens. Frosty, appreciate you. Another good show. We got a lot of good guests coming up for everyone, so stay tuned. Got some big things coming for the LA Football Podcast. Make sure you do subscribe wherever you listen. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere you listen. We are. Hit us up on socials. I'm Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. Co-host is The Organic Frost. And as always, email us at podcast@lafbnetwork.com. My man, thanks so much. Stay healthy, stay safe. This is the LA Football Podcast. We'll talk to you guys in a few days.
Peace.